Hey everyone, it's Sorkan. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to solve LeetCode 242 valid anagram problem. The problem statement is that we have two strings, S and T, and we need to return true if the S is the anagram of T or vice versa. Otherwise, we should return false. What's the anagram? Anagram is a word or phrase that can be formed by rearranging letters. Let's say we have a word cat, and by rearranging letters, we can get a word act. And in this case, act is an anagram of cat, or vice versa, cat is an anagram of act. And we are given two examples. In the first one, since the second word is the anagram of the first one, we return true. And in case of the second example, cat is not the anagram of, rat is not anagram of the car. In this case, we are returning false. Okay, now let's see how we are going to solve this problem. Let's use a word cat as an example and the anagram of it act to explain our approach, how we are going to solve this problem. If we will pay attention here, so it doesn't matter like in which order each letter comes, we need to have equal number of letters in the first one, let's call it S, and in the second one in T. So let's say that we have 1A, we need to have 1A, 1C, and we need to we have 1T. So in the second one in the T, this is S, and the second one in the T, we should have exactly the same number of A and the C's and T's. If we have, then in that case we can say that it's anagram. So how we can do that? One way of that we can use a hash map, and we can store each character and as a character as a key, and a number of times that character is repeated as a value. So we can go over cat and increase the, for example, A, C, and T, and we can go over the T, let's say A, C, and the T, and we can decrease in that case. And at the end, if the all characters are 0 equals to 0, then it means that we have anagrams. Another way that we can do that is to create an array of integers, where we are going to store the how many times A is repeated, how many A's we have, how many C's we have, and how many T's we have. So we create array of integer size 26 for each letter of alphabet. So in our case, we have here A, let's say B, and the C, and we have here T, and we have here, let's say last letter, our Z. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to go over twice. We should have two for loops. First, we are going to go over the S, and we are going to increment how many times, for example, A is repeated, how many A's is there, how many C is there, and how many T is there. And in the second loop, we are going to go, and if in first case we are going to increase, in the second case we are going to decrease. For example, we are going to go over, so we have 1A, we are going to decrease, we are decrease also C, and we are going to decrease T. If at the end all letters, if all letters are repeated 0 number of times, because we have subtracted, in that case we can claim that we have an anagram. But since the size is the same, actually we don't need two for loops. We can use this one for loop to go over A and the C and the T at the same time. So let's actually walk through over it. So let's say that in the first iteration, this is our first iteration of our loop. So what we are going to do, we have A and the C. A is C is we are increasing once, and for the T we are decreasing once. Okay, for the second iteration we have A, so then we are increasing A once, and we are decreasing decreasing C. And in our third iteration, we are gonna increase T once, and at the same time we are gonna increase T one. We are gonna decrease T once. So by the end we have here 0. So our A is 0, and this one we don't have any letter B, so it's by default 0. C is 0 and the T is 0. So we can claim that, okay, this is, and at the end we are going over our array one more time, and if the all letters, number of times the letters are repeated is equals to 0, so which means that we have an anagram. That's our approach. Let's put our algorithm that we have explained here to code. Okay, first we need to create array of integers. Let's call it letters, with the size 26 to store each letter of alphabet. Let's call it letters. And the next thing is we need to create a for loop to go over the S and the T, and either increment or in case of S, or decrement in case of T. So int I equals to 0. So I is less than S length, and the S and the T length should be equal. If it's not equal, then in that case we are just can return true right away. So actually let's add that condition here, so that the if S length is not equal to T length, okay, if it's not equal to T length, then in that case we can say that, okay, return false, because this is not anagram by default. Okay, so otherwise we are going over S and the T at the same time, and we say, okay, for the letters for the S, let's say character at I, and minus A we can say, or because here in the we are storing, let's say that the A is, ASCII number of A is 97, but we want to store how many times A is repeated, how many A's are there in the 0 index. To do that, we need to either subtract A or 97, doesn't matter. So in that case, A will be stored in the 0 position, B will be stored in the first, A will be stored in the 0 index, B will be stored in the A will be stored in the 0 index, B will be stored in the first index, C in the second, and so on. So minus 97 and the plus plus. So basically we're incrementing for S, and for the letters, for the T length, for the T character at I, then character at I minus A. Actually, this is the same thing as I already explained. So so once we get out of this loop, so what happens is that we have, for the S we have incremented, for the T we have decremented, and at the end we need to have all letters equals to 0, because let's say that if there is one A, then here we need to decrement it, and it should be equal to 0. And if there is one C, then here we are increment, and here we decrement, it should be equal to 0. So at the end we need to go over the letters, and what we need to do, we need to say, okay, so like I is less than either letters length, or let's say just simply say 26, and we are incrementing I, and what we need to do here, if any of those, any of the letters repeated more than 0 times, then it means that we have either in the S or in T we have extra letter. So this is not an anagram. So in that case, if it's not equal to 0, so we need to return false. Otherwise, if we get out from this loop and we don't have cases when the letter I is equals to 0, not equals to 0, then in that case we can say that, okay, return true, because this is an anagram. That's it. Let's actually go over our algorithm, over our code one more time. So the algorithm that we are using. So first of all, first thing that we are comparing length of the S and T. If they are not equal, we are returning false. Then we can use either hash map, but in our case, we are using the array of integers to store how many times each letter is in S and the T. And since the size is the same, we are going over it only once. So for the letters, for the S we are incrementing, and for the T we are decrementing. And at the end we are going over the letters and see that, okay, is there any case when the character is repeated more than 0 times? It means that we have some character in S that we don't have in T, or vice versa. If we have, then in that case we return false. Otherwise it's an anagram and we return true. Okay, let's check it. Okay, letters. Yeah, actually, yeah. Should add int. Okay, that's it. It works as expected. That's it for valid anagram problem. If you have any question, please leave the comment below. I hope you like my content. If you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe my channel. That's it for today. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.